as quick as you can, but if you want to start out with, if you got a couple of provisos, we can start with those and then we'll go from there.
All right, I'm going to turn over to Vice Chairman Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last year, we had a proviso in for a statewide marketing campaign for high demand and high wage career fields, $2,500,000. It would be a contract with Level Up Kansas. And so this proviso she's passing out would just continue that for fiscal year 25.
Okay, do you have any others?
Yes. You have that other one, the closed loop? Okay. So the next one is many health and social work organizations use what's called a closed loop referral system. Basically, that referral system allows them to help someone find other services when they come in. Like if they come in for a food bank, they can then refer them to a housing center or not other housing resource centers or other not-for-profit additional services. What this proviso does is it's our understanding that the state has procured a closed-loop system, and many of these organizations that work are being told that they may have to move to that system, and they've already got closed-loop systems that they like and that they feel are less expensive. And so what this proviso does is just say that those local and state organizations don't have to use the state-provided closed-loop system.
Is there any fiscal consideration on this? It's just language?
Just language.
Is this something new we've not done before?
Right. Well, the closed-loop system's been, I mean, that has gone on, but this particular language is due to the fact that there was a closed-loop system bought, and it's so these organizations are being told that they may have to move to that system in order to work with the state, and so this proviso would say no, they can continue to use the system that they use. It's computer. It's computer software. So.
Okay, and then on your First Amendment on the high wage career fields, 2.5 million. Can you explain a little on that?
That is a new. Well, that's a continuation of what we did in 2025. I took the language, or revisers did, took the language right out of fiscal year 24, and the only difference is that we've already contracted with Level Up Kansas, so this just says we'll continue to do that.
And they're running ads on TV. I thought I seen one.
Yeah, I think that's what they're. It's for them to attract, to attract for these jobs.
Okay. I think I've went past the 10 minutes that I said we would wait, so if you'd like to make your offer.
Well, and I have another one. This was actually, I think I mentioned this yesterday when we started the deliberations here on the budget, and it was in regards to the mental health pilot program. It was under the Department of Education. It is not in the education budget conference, and so we're having it added to the budget here. And so it's just the language that we've had in previous years, and just keeping that pilot program continuing. And they're passing out the language right now. And then I have a couple others, but I don't have the paperwork with me right now. So we'll go ahead with, and I'll talk about the provisos that you gave us prior to ending the last meeting. In regards to the Star Bonds project, I think we're okay with the language because it has a twofold approval process with the president or chancellor of the state educational institution and the Secretary of Commerce. So I think that kind of eases some concern. So we're okay with that proviso. And then on the private detective fee fund, we're all right with that one as well. So now we'll go into our offer, and I will have to admit, we have a package that'll be passed out. I believe, are they ready? Okay, Dylan's passing them out right now. So I will start, and then I'll indicate when we hit the items that we have in the package. So first page, Department of Agriculture, item number 1, we took the Senate position. Not the Senate modified, Senate original. Number 2, I was trying to get ahead of myself. For Department of Health and Environment, item number 2, Senate. On page 2, under fiscal year 2025, item number 2, Senate. Board of Regents, this is in your package. So we have basically a higher ed package is what it is. And so it would be on Board of Regents, delete the 14.1 million SGF, which is the House position. We would add your position of $5 million for the Kansas Comprehensive Grant. Add language that I believe was your position in regards to how to disperse the grant, comprehensive grants. The House position of the 2.2 million SGF for the Kansas Osteopathic Scholarship. House position on directing the Board of Regents to update the listing of federally recognized tribe names. The next 2 items are the Senate, which is add 1.7 million for the student success initiatives at the community colleges and $15.8 million for the student success initiatives at the community and technical colleges. House, 270,000 to Washburn Municipal Operating Grant for Dole Hall. Senate, delete the amount of 8.1 million that was the House position, but you did not have moving the funding and paying off the Emporia State University Memorial Union debt. Also, the 4.6 million for the student housing debt. Your position in deleting $10 million for demolition funds. Your position deleting the 9.2 million for the non-tiered course credit. Your position deleting 6.6 million from the post-secondary tiered technical education account. Our position of deleting $7 million for utility contract. Our position in the state capital renewal fund of 20 million. Our position of 209,000 for the Board of Regents support staff. And then your funding for the comprehensive grant for 2026. Then on the second page, you'll see that we have deleting the language of authorizing up to $15 million in bonding, because in essence, it's not necessary anymore. Emporia State University, delete $2 million, and we actually take your Senate modified position of restoring the funding. We have a Senate modified. Let me clarify that. Restore the funding if House Bill 2460 or similar legislation is not signed into law. So you'll see all the deletions for the items that you had in your budget in regards to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We delete the language again for fiscal year 2025 for the $15 million in bonding authority. Add $3 million for the Regional Stabilization Fund for all regional universities. And then $2 million, again, anytime you see the DEI language, it's going to have that restore the funding if House Bill 2460 or similar legislation is not signed into law. Is signed into law. So one notation we just got. If you look at the comments on the DEI language, it should say, restore the funding if Sub-House Bill 2460 or similar legislation is signed into law, is not signed into law. So just make that correction. There you see the other $3 million for Fort Hays State. The DEI language, we added your position for the $4 million for the Central Immersive Training Hub at K-State Salina. We are not adding the debt service payment of $3.1 million for the dairy facility at K-State, but we are authorizing Kansas State University bonding authority for $40 million. There's your DI language again. I think the next two items are the DI language. There's the regional stabilization dollars for Pittsburgh State, DEI, DEI, DEI. And then we added our position of $5 million for the aviation research for fiscal year 2025, and then the DEI language that would be coming to the State Finance Council. So that is package A, as I mentioned before, referred to as the higher education package. Mr. Chairman, are there any questions?
No.
Right. So we'll go ahead and resume on the comparison sheets. I believe it'd be on page 5 for School for the Deaf, and that would be a House position. And we did have some discussion when we were coming up with our offer that, you know, we have the similar item for the School for the Blind and the School for the Deaf. And as the Vice Chair mentioned when we were deliberating, is if we do fund this position, actually due to their close proximity, this security officer could be both for both institutions. So then the next would be jumping to the Attorney General on page 6. And so this would be consistent with what you had mentioned the last time. Oh, let me go back up. University of Kansas Medical Center, items 2 and 3 are House. Attorney General, instead of having board approval, we would, and we've actually spoken to the revisor's office about this, and this works just the same as board approval by having present and review. Because there's nothing that's going to call into question the dollars or subject it to not receiving any further dollars in the future. But as long as we have present and review, the board still can look at it and it won't jeopardize anything. So that would be, and then on item number 3, be a House modified to look at that at omnibus. There again, House modified on item number 2 for fiscal year 2025 with the same language as present and review. Item number 3, House. Items 4 and 5, same with that language with present and review. Item number 6, House. And then on page 7, in the middle of the page, under the Board of Healing Arts, Senate. Then under the Department of Administration, items 3 and 4, Senate.
do you do on Eleanor?
Item number 6 on page 8, in the discussion that we had last about the amount, House modified at $75,000. For fiscal year 2025, item number 4, Senate. Under the Department of Commerce, this might take a while. Item number 1, we are having, I guess I would say, a Senate modified position because you guys had the funding, we did not. So we're going to allow for what we discussed 2 years ago of $7 million a year for 5 years to continue. And that'll help with the facility of the hangar in Wichita. We have agreed for the $35 million for the 2 hangars to be constructed in Salina, but that's it. We're going to move forward with Salina, and then Topeka we can discuss in subsequent years. So that's we call it a Senate modified. Then we have the other package. And this is package B. This is all the items in regards to ARPA or what, there are some other items that we had in our package when we actually constructed our budget that you've actually piecemealed and kind of accepted some of the other items. So we had to create a new package. So in this package, it has the money for the World Cup of $10 million and then the review of that in 2026. It has the $16.9 million for the housing and retail development in Northwest Kansas. And as I mentioned before, $7,250,000 is coming from the Rural Housing Revolving Loan Program. The rest of that is coming from ARPA. And then on I'll go through the package. So we talked about the World Cup. It has a $20 million from ARPA funds for the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center. Talked about the Northwest Kansas. There's the $18 million for 2026 for the World Cup. And then you have the deletion where we actually accept your Senate modified position for an additional $41 million to go to the KU Wichita State Health Collaboration. And using what you guys modified in your last offer of $11 million of the interest earned from the ARPA dollars. And then we have the transfers that are coming for those particular items. So any questions about that package? All right. So using what you kind of expressed during your last offer, we kind of did the same thing because I believe, Dylan, you said right now we're earning about $3.2 million a month on the ARPA dollars and say have not all been dispersed. And so we have a Senate modified, again, because we did not have this in our budget bill, but $10 million not coming out of the State Highway Fund, but from the earnings of interest with ARPA. Because we have been told that this is a one-time project. So use the earnings with the interest instead of money from the State Highway Fund. Oh, that is item number 4 on page 8. On page 9, item number 6 and 7 are House. Item number 11, that is going to be a House modified, moving that from the Kansas State Department of Education to the Kansas Department of Commerce. Item number 1 is in the package. Under Department of Revenue, item number 1 under 2025, Senate. That's it, isn't it? On page 10, we have a House modified of cutting the positions that you have approved in half to 20. And then we also, if you'll consider that, we will give you 3 and 4. So we have Senate position. and the funding for those positions too. Kansas Dental Board,
So number 2 is half is cutting it to 20, and then we're going to get 3 and 4 in addition to that.
I mean, I just said we'll throw you that to you.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, funding is half. Kansas Dental Board, items, both number 1 on for 24 and 25, both are Senate. I think on the next page, everything was in a package except for the last item. And so let me kind of explain this. The Pool Money Investment Board, there's been some discussion with the State Treasurer's Office that the Pooled Money Investment Board can already go ahead and invest half of the money that is in the Budget Stabilization Fund, which they can do already, and they want to have it in policy. But also in discussing with the revisor's office, due to the statute that surrounds the Budget Stabilization Fund, where it takes legislative action, we would just feel better having the language in the budget bill that we are directing half of it to be invested in a short-term investment model, and no longer than 12 months. I mean, that's just due to the way it's constructed in statute, because it takes legislative action. So that'd be a House position. Secretary of State on page 12, items number 1 is House. State Banking Commissioner, 24 and 25, both are House. And, okay, so we, in essence, accept your language for the Build Kansas. However, we still have some concerns that I raised the last time we met in regards to small communities. And so we would like to have language added that if you are accounting, more than 20,000, then you need to come up with a 10% match. Or if you are a small community under the population of 5,000, then that may be waived by the Legislative Oversight Committee. So that way we have a protection for our smaller communities where they may not have the availability to come up with the funds for a match if they would be approved by the federal government. And we just want that language to protect those smaller communities.
So any city, 5,000 or less, can be waived
to the, or they may appeal to the Legislative Oversight Committee
for a
to
waiver.
have the match waived, the 10% match, if they fall in with a county that's 20,000 or more.
Under, okay.
And I believe the senator said there was 27 counties in the state. And so a lot of our smaller communities won't affect. But if you happen to be in one of those counties that it is, then this is a protection for them.
Got it.
So that would take care of item 2 and 25, item 1 and 26, item 1 and 27, and item 1 and 28. Department of Transportation, we will accept your Senate modified where it's subject to the State Finance Council. Department of Children and Families, item number 1, Senate. Items number 2, 3, and 4, House. Item number 1 for the Department of Health and Environment. We'd kind of like to meet somewhere on that. And so our offer would be $50 million, all funds. And I think research, and they can calculate what the state general fund portion would be. So that would be a modified House position. And then on item number 2, it would be a modified Senate position which we would accept your position of 30 million all funds. And then on item number 3, that would be a House modified, having the funding removed and discussed at omnibus. And then in regards to page 14, all those items are still House. On page 15, items 1, 2, 3, and 4 are House. 5 is taken care of. 6 is House. There's that language again that we had previously where it was present and review, so it's a House modified for 7 and 8. 10 is House, 11 House, 12 is Senate. And then 13 and 14 kind of go together. So we will take on 13 the Senate position of 3.4 million and then the House position on 14 of 10.2 million. And then on 16, we Senate, 17, Senate, and 18, we accept your Senate modified at 10 million. Page 16, item number 19, House, 20, Senate, 21, House, 22, Senate, 23 and 24, House, for 26, House, 27, House, 28, House, and that finishes that page. Starting with the Adjutant General on page 17, item number 1, Senate. For 25, items number 1 and 2 are House. Item number 4, Senate. Department of Corrections, items 1 and 2, House. Item number 3, Senate. For 2025, number 1, Senate. Number 2, House. Then for item number 1, we have a Senate modified where we will allow for the purchase of the land and the central dispatch facility, but not the indoor-outdoor firing range. On number 1 for fiscal year 2025, House. KBI, item number 1, House. State Fire Marshal, item number 1, Senate. Then items 2, 3, and 4, House. Other statewide adjustments, House. And the reason why we have decided to not deposit any more state general fund dollars into the budget stabilization fund is because, as you're aware, we have $1.7 billion, which is earning interest in that account. So there's, it was our feeling that there's no need to keep the mechanism in place and depositing more state general fund dollars into the budget stabilization fund. So that's why we're staying with the House position. And then on the last page, the last 2 items on the State Finance Council, because they're kind of thrown into the package, would be House. Oh, wait, yeah. One other change that I'll need to clarify is that on page 9, item number 5, it has that $4 million, which is, I believe you already accepted it. And that needs to say the Kansas Corporation Commission, not the Department of Commerce. So if that's okay with you, then staff can just go ahead and make that change.
KCC. So that is KCC?
Yes.
We would accept that with the KCC unless our senator from Wyandotte decides that there's a reason we shouldn't. But we'd like to confer with her, but we'll say yes now and then confer. Nancy, did you get all anything? Some of them on the first page is.
So and as I mentioned, when we had the packages handed out, Dylan just told me that online it is corrected where not is taken out of those particular items that we were discussing.
Chairman Waymaster, if you could just go over the first page. You know, he was on the sheet in the package, and we just want to make sure we got them right.
You want me to go through the package?
Just page 1 on the purple sheet.
Well, the only item that we had on page 1 was we took the Senate position on item number 1 for the Department of Agriculture. And then
What
we
about item
had,
2?
that was Senate. We took the Senate position. It was originally on a House position, but we took your position.
Right. KDHE Environment,
yes.
number 2, Senate.
Yes.
Good on the rest? I think we're good on the rest of them, but.
And then I do have, Jill, do you have these from Williams? And we have a proviso, this kind of got brought up when we were having discussion in committee, and so one of our appropriations members is having some flooding issues in regards to Highway 54 and US Highway 400 in Augusta. And so there needs to be some improvements made to a culvert to try to limit the amount of flooding that is going on. And so this would be appropriating $3.4 million from the State Highway Fund for KDOT to address that issue. And then the other item that she had was in regards to the Kansas Promise Scholarship Program. And this would be for private career technical schools. Will they be able to be awarded the grant? That is it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, I don't know how quick we'll get back to you. Our one member is still in another committee, so I guess I'll just text you and I'll let you know what time would work, and we'll call it on the Senate floor.
So you haven't adjourned?
You have adjourned?
We've adjourned.
Okay, well, we haven't,
Okay.
so I will call.
Like I say, could we just tentatively right now say 4:30, and if we have to make an announcement, we can do that?
I think that'd probably work.
All right, let's just plan on 4:30, and if anything changes, we'll just wait for an announcement.
Okay. We'll call it for 4:30. I'll go down and call it, and then we'll, if we have to push it off a little, we will. If we don't, we'll be ready.
That's fine.
All right, thank you. We're adjourned.